Paramilitary Revolutionary Guard Major General Majid Kademi has been killed, according to Iranian state media. In other news, a federal judge has halted efforts by the Trump administration to collect data that proves higher education institutions aren't considering race in admissions. The judge said the federal government likely has the authority to collect the data, but the demand was rolled out to universities in a rushed and chaotic manner. South Korea's spy agency says it's now fair to view the teenage daughter of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un as his heir. The girl, dubbed by state media as Kim's most beloved or respected child, has accompanied her father to numerous high-profile events since late 2022, sparking outside speculation that she's being groomed as the North's future leader. UCLA has won its first NCAA national championship, beating South Carolina 79-51. This is AP News. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports on what to know about Artemis II's record-breaking moon flyby.
The 3 Americans and 1 Canadian chasing after Apollo 13's distance record from Earth and launching a new era in space exploration. Monday, they swing around the moon in a roughly 6-hour journey before heading back to Earth. NASA Flight Director Judd Freeling.
The whole point of this mission is a campaign to get back to the moon. And the being able to see with human eyes the lunar surface is a huge milestone, right? And that just articulates the point, that we're going back to the moon.
Artemis II launched April 1st on humanity's first trip to the moon since 1972. Their mission will shatter the 56-year-old record set by Apollo 13, becoming Earth's farthest emissaries. I'm Julie Walker.
And I'm Marcela.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 28. By Tuesday, sunshine, high 41 degrees. Wednesday, mostly cloudy and breezy. We'll see a high around 64. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 41. It's tax time, y'all. If you want to file free, this next one's for you.
Now taxes is so free. Tax-free edition only. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple form 1040 returns only. Now this is taxes.
Love that jam. Up next, commercials.
Intuit TurboTax Free Edition. See if you qualify at TurboTax.com/free. Don't miss the deadline. File by 4/15. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
Tell me how you're doing. Really. Tell me that you missed the bus this morning, your rent's past due, and your stress level has skyrocketed. I'm here for you. To listen, not judge. To connect you to local mental health resources. No matter what you're going through, specialists like me from NAMI Chicago Helpline are here for you. Call or text Helpline to 833-626-4244. That's 833-626-4244.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and all the rest. Yes, welcome to the April 6, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Also broadcasting on AM 950 in Minneapolis, AM 1520 and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Yeah, that's where we're hanging out, guys. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Follow me on all the socials from X to Spoutable and everything in between. And, of course, catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other great shows and interviews. And the treat that you give yourself is making your way over to heartlandsignal.com. It's a nice little easy trip. You just kind of, click on that and there you are. And like, oh man, because when you get there, then you'll find things like our great articles. And they range from John Parker from The Gailey Show, who's on AM 890 in talking with me, of course, and many others, to everything that's happening down in Kentucky, as our Democrats are calling out the House GOP members for using bingo cards during a session, to the folks down in Tennessee, our Democrats down there, Gabby Salinas, pointing out the bill to ban teachers using preferred names. Our people get it done, guys, and that's what you'll find over at heartlandsignal.com. So make your way over there no matter where you are in the country. Here's another great article that's at Heartland that you'll appreciate. John James, who's a Republican, African-American Republican in Congress in Michigan, got criticized for talking up, trying to pretend like he was all down with the Detroit Tigers opening baseball game. Meanwhile, he was off on some, fancy vacation in the Turks and Caicos, making it sound like he was at the opener when, in fact, he was out of the country. So, yeah, there's just great stuff over at Heartland Signal. Make your way there so you can check out what we're doing. We love that we get your comments. When you go to Heartland Signal and you've got a comment about an article, just like when you go to our Facebook page, send us a note. Send us an email. You can email me. Or you can comment there. Certainly when you go to Facebook, like and share. That's really important that you do that. We want to keep building the commentary from you guys, because that's what makes those stories and the pieces that we do have even more strength, is when you guys like and share them with people that you care about. All right. So on today's show, in the 6:30 hour, Betsy Hodges, who is the former mayor of Minneapolis. She and I will probably be talking about Bruce Springsteen, her observations on race, because she's one of the tall voices in that space. And we'll probably, depending on time, lean into talking about Trump and Pam Bondi. In the 7 o'clock hour, Lavora Barnes will be with us. She is the head of Democracy Defenders, one of the voices there. We'll get her thoughts on the No Kings rally and the SAVE Act, as well as birthright citizenship. And then in the 7:30 hour, our good friend Mike Nellis from Endless Urgency Substack will be talking with us. And I'm sure he and I will lean into the conversations around the White House and Easter hypocrisy, which I'll talk about a little bit as well. Before then, what's happening in the Middle East and the foul-mouthed guy in the White House. Man, what can I tell you? So stay tuned and get your notebooks out. We want to make sure you guys are plugged in to what we are saying. The question of the day. I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think there is religious hypocrisy embedded in the administration? Again, do you think there is religious hypocrisy embedded in this administration? I'll talk about it now. I know it'll come up again later in the show. Listen, I've used my level of curse words. Mike Nellis and I tease each other all the time. Every time he's on, that we try to see who's going to get the other one to slip up. But we both are grown men and we're responsible, and we have to respect you guys as the audience. Irrespective of, frankly, the FCC's guidelines in this space, we have to respect you guys as the audience, which means, as my father used to say, that respect starts with yourself. And so, myself and others have been, from time to time, we can be a little salty mouthed. That's understandable. But there's just times when you know better, or you should know better, or there should be some personal guardrails that you put up on yourself that say, I'm going to be a little bit more judicious in the language that I use right now. And I tie this into religious hypocrisy because of some of the things that we saw last week with, Holy Week and this evangelist, preacher person speaking in tongues, Paula White, I think that's her name, and then Graham, all trying to show out at the White House as some sort of, spiritual leaders. And there just seems to be a tremendous amount of hypocrisy. And we talked about this last week as it relates to Trump saying that, funding Medicare, funding Medicaid just, wasn't important. Taking care of medical items or benefits for our families and our children, it wasn't important. Give me more war money. That's what's important. And you all know I'm paraphrasing. Give me more war money so I can go into Minneapolis and cause more havoc there in my U.S. war. And give me more war money so I can go and cause havoc in the Middle East. And one of the notes I made to myself regarding this hypocrisy, going back to my question, do you think there is religious hypocrisy embedded in this administration? I'd like to get your thoughts on that. But here's one that for me, it touches a nerve, because on a week and a weekend that we celebrate, however one celebrates, this period of time every year when it comes to Easter, when it comes to Passover, we just came off of Ramadan, You cannot carry the banner of being inside of Faith Week or Holy Week or whatever they want to call it in this White House, and then turn around and take away benefits that would go to help people who are in need. You cannot tell a city, Minneapolis, you cannot tell a city, Chicago, you cannot tell a city, Birmingham, Alabama, it doesn't matter, red, blue, or purple, that you're a Christian, but then you turn around and you do the thing that takes away from the least among us. And you're killing babies and old folks in the Middle East recklessly without giving a blank about it, and using profanity in some of the most awful of ways about what a country needs to do, or else we're going to destroy you. You don't get to spend time with these so-called faith leaders and then turn around and do the exact opposite of what the celebration of this week was all about. You don't get to do that. And what's even more disgusting for me are people who follow this and agree with it. You guys have heard me say this dozens of times. You don't get to act a fool like this from a standpoint of a human being and then show up in church on Sundays. It just doesn't work with me. But right now, we got to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 90, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
We have Maria on the line from Chicago.
I'm so impressed with how you and everybody on WCPT are able to stay sane with all the chaotic nonsense that comes out of the White House and all the violence and all the crappy things that's going on around us, and how you are still able to be a voice for us, because WCPT is my go-to when it comes for information, news, etc. Because I don't trust the government anymore, which is sad. It makes me sad as an American citizen. It saddens me to say that.
You and me both. Thank you, Maria. You're very welcome. The only place where you went wrong was assuming that all of us here at CPT are still sane. But we'll have that discussion another day.
Keep listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First, drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
if it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips. Because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Tell me how you're doing, really. Tell me that you missed the bus this morning, your rent's past due, and your stress level has skyrocketed. I'm here for you. To listen, not judge. To connect you to local mental health resources. No matter what you're going through, specialists like me from NAMI Chicago Helpline are here for you. Call or text Helpline to 833-626-4244. That's 833-626-4244.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views, real talk for real people, just like you. Give us a call now, 773-763-9278. Now, back to Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. As you can see, we've got some new cool, fancy stuff that we're doing here. But the quick shout-outs are going to come in a moment in terms of our folks in Minneapolis. But let's hit them with a couple of quick Choose Views news items on this April 6, 2026. Overtime tax deduction claims vastly exceed forecasts. Tax experts knew the new deduction for overtime pay would be popular, just not this popular. Already, more than 20% of filers have claimed the break, exceeding estimates by nearly double the data. For the first time, the IRS could mean paying out tens of billion dollars more than planned. Some experts say filers are likely wrong about what exactly qualifies for a deduction. Investors are flocking to women's sports for growth potential. Wealthy investors are turning to women's sports as a lucrative opportunity. With the U.S. market expected to grow at 16% annually, about 3 times faster than men's sports, driven by rising media rights and star athletes like WNBA's Caitlin Clark and Angela Reese. Valuations for franchises are increasing thanks to a surge in expansion fees and corporate sponsorships, but many women's franchises are still a valuation gap. The DOJ can't suspend Powell. In other words, the federal court says and has denied the Justice Department's request to reconsider an earlier ruling that blocked a pair of subpoenas to the Federal Reserve. The DOJ failed to offer new evidence or identify any material error in the March ruling. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg said last month Boasberg determined that the subpoenas were designed to pressure Fed Chair Jerome Powell to lower interest rates or resign. Small firms are grappling with the high prices of fuel costs as they continue to rise due to the war in Iran. Some big companies are passing along the cost to consumers. For smaller businesses, some say the calculation is more complicated. We are in a bit of a catch-22, according to Nick Friedman. Our fear, quote, would be if we start raising prices, it will hurt our customers. You think? Friedman founded the College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving Company. Meanwhile, earlier this week, United Airlines and JetBlue both hiked baggage fees, and Amazon imposed a 3.5% surcharge on sellers. Last but not least, women unfortunately lagging in the stock market participation amid other gains. American women have made significant gains in higher education, workforce participation, and home ownership. Yet they remain underrepresented in stock market investing, according to CNBC. It notes that women held about 35% of investor positions as of 2025, according to JP Morgan. All right, guys, a couple of quick Choose Views news items on this April 6, 2026. We've been waiting for this, and we're all excited about it. We're broadcasting now on AM 950 up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the progressive voice of Minnesota. How about that? I think that's pretty cool. Looking forward to sharing all that we can share with our folks in our wonderful, I'm going to call it cousin city, first cousin city, for all the right reasons. They've gone through some of the same hell that we've gone through here in Chicago, particularly when it comes to the Orange Menace in the White House and his minion, all his little, dancing fools. But shout out to the folks in Minneapolis for so many reasons. When ICE landed there and ICE assassinated some of your people, we were some of the first voices, those of us here in Chicago and WCPT and Heartland Signal, to reach out and say, we got you. So we got you, Minneapolis. We got you, Minnesota. And we're proud to be broadcasting there with you on AM 950. And I'm going to do my very best every single day to give you and bring you the best that I've got and make sure that we're inclusive, along with our folks down in Warren County, North Carolina, doing the same thing there to make sure we're doing our very best to bring you the best that I've got. So, be patient with us as we, add some new fancy things to the process and kind of spice it up a little bit, but we'll do our best to hit the mark every single day. So some things that are going on right now, of course, in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, more broadly, farmers have recognized, like so many farmers throughout the country, you heard us talk with Sean Harris last week about this very thing, that the Iran war is hurting farmers when it comes to a very specific area that's integral to their work, and that's fertilizer and the prices that have been soaring right ahead of planting season. As an article recently posted, Trump Congress tried to address the anger in the farm country over the Iran Straits of Hormuz chokehold, but this is a war that they started. And so to fix it, he's created a problem that may not be fixable in the immediate time frame. But according to some of the information that I'm getting out of Minnesota, the farmers that are there, the rural farmers particularly, are definitely feeling the pain of the fertilizer and fuel prices as they're soaring. So we'll keep you posted on that. One of the things that's interesting in more broadly speaking terms is that gas prices that have spiked during this Iran war, Minnesota has been spared in some ways to not see as much of an increase as other parts of the country. And that's due to the state's proximity to oil-producing Canada and North Dakota. But as time goes by, this could end up putting even more pressure on those refineries that are in that particular part of the country. And some businesses in Minnesota and Minneapolis specifically are hoping that there will be some relief coming due to the fact that now that ICE is backed away and Operation Metro Surge has reduced, that some of the smaller businesses in the community will start to see shoppers come back and return to the businesses that were impacted by ICE being in their wonderful city. Some things that are happening down in North Carolina. Tomorrow we'll be talking with Anderson Clayton, so she'll bring us up to speed on a few things. They're still recovering from some of the stuff that's happened with Hurricane Helene. If you guys remember, their disaster recovery is still in place, and the folks there are working extraordinarily hard to get the state back on track, particularly some of the western mountain regions. And those who are there in North Carolina or in the region may recognize that there have been some flags that have been lowered, and that's to represent and provide some memory to Representative Jim. Is it Jim Clampett? Yeah, I think it's Representative Clampett, who was long-term state representative there in North Carolina. So there you go. And here in Chicago, some things that are taking place right now. Of course, the Missing Middle project that Mayor Johnson put forward is starting to take some hold and gaining some strength when it comes to the housing work that the city has done to build better housing and to build more affordable housing. So that's definitely getting off to a good start. So hopefully the city can continue to push in that direction. And there is this kind of ongoing contest. You name a snowplow, which is kind of coming to the end of the snow season. So we'll see how that plays out. But just a couple of quick items that are happening in Minneapolis, in North Carolina, and some things that are happening right here in the good old Windy of cities. All right. Before we hit this next break, I want to circle back to something that I started to talk about a moment ago as it relates to, do you think there is religious hypocrisy embedded in this administration? I'd like to hear from you guys in that space. I'd like to get, I'll grab your text during the break and try to read some of those before we have Betsy on, if we can do that. But make sure you go to our Facebook page and leave your comments there. Do you think there is religious hypocrisy embedded in this administration and the cabinet? Because, and this one, and Mike Nellis and I will talk about this, but this is one that really, really just, it's crazy. So we saw that Donald Trump used some unnecessary profanity with regard to the Straits of Hormuz and Iran. And then we also saw sort of this, two faith-based leaders or whatever you want to call them in the White House calling, Donald Trump the next thing to Jesus or to God. And I'm paraphrasing. Just disgusting. But this is the one that really, on a weekend when we're supposed to be celebrating faith and connection and all those things that we say we believe in as a, quote, nation of believers, this is where Christian nationalism is taking over, if not taken over, the halls of our government. Pete Hegseth's Pentagon excluded Catholic soldiers from Good Friday's liturgy. Protestants only. No Catholic liturgy. Confirmed by the Pentagon. That's absolutely jaw-dropping. I can't even say the words. Pete Hegseth says no Catholics. What kind of... First of all, he's not a faith-based leader, so I dare say he has much knowledge in that space. But talk about religious discrimination. I don't know, guys. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-1509. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-1509. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-1509. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-1509 or biglou.com.
A loved one owns a gun, and for a while now, you've been concerned about their behavior. They're just not acting like themselves. They've been distant, they've been unpredictable, they've been lashing out. They've been saying things that make you worried they might harm themselves or friends or family. Or you're worried this loved one might hurt you. Maybe they recently threatened someone with their gun. You know something needs to be done, and you wish more than anything you could hit pause on this situation. Well, here in Illinois, you can, with a firearm restraining order. In extreme cases, this order temporarily prevents a person in crisis from having a firearm, giving them time to heal before they do something dangerous or even deadly. If you are worried about a loved one in crisis who has access to a firearm, learn more about firearm restraining orders at illinois.gov/pause to heal. A public service announcement brought to you by the Illinois Department of Public Health, Brady, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. And for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 28. By Tuesday, sunshine, high 41 degrees. Wednesday, mostly cloudy and breezy. We'll see a high around 64. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 43.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Mike's on, truth's out. This is Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. AM 950, the voice of Minnesota, is now rolling with us every morning. And I kind of thought, I said, you know what? If we're going to start having our cousins up in Minnesota and Minneapolis be part of the conversation, then we need to get with our former mayor of Minneapolis and say, hey, come hang out with us on our first day of broadcasting on AM 950 this morning. Who am I talking about? Obviously, Betsy Hodges, the former Minneapolis mayor and an author and a leader and a voice in so many spaces. One that's near and dear to my heart, of course, equity and balance when it comes to race and when it comes to gender. But she does so much more and has been such an impactful voice over the last few years. Betsy, good morning and welcome back to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, and it's an honor to be here, your first day broadcasting on AM 950. Hello to Minnesota, as well as all your listeners.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm really glad that we were able to put this together. So thanks for being with us this morning. When I look at my notes, Betsy, and I think about all that there is to talk about, you and I could talk for a couple of hours, and I know that we're working on some things behind the scenes to put together some work for other people that we feel we can be a voice for. But all that's been happening in the last couple of weeks since the beginning of this war, as I said earlier, on this week of Holy Week and this weekend of faith that touches so many different, and really the last few weeks when we look at Ramadan, all the things that touch so many different elements of faith, irrespective of which religion or faith you adhere to. It's just what happened the other day with some of these faith leaders in the White House trying to make this merging of Donald Trump with Jesus was really just shameful. And I know that there is no bottom, so I'm not looking to say what's going to be next or what's going to be the bottom. And then to see on the flip side of that, the hypocrisy of it, to have Donald Trump use the language that he used to describe what our military is going to do to other human beings on this planet. I'm not shocked by anything that happens. I just, I saw that, I heard that, and I knew that you and I'd be talking this morning, and I wanted to get your thoughts and your observations in that space.
Well, I agree with you. The pearls have been clutched, right? They're either permanently clutched or permanently unclutched at this point. There's no low, there's no bottom. And even our curiosity about how low he is willing to go, I think is just waning. Now it is strategy time, and it is not who is he and what is he doing and why is he doing it time, but it's who are we and what are we doing time. And it has been for quite some time, which is why the movements around the country that have been happening, the on the ground support for each other as human beings, and the very open vocal gathering together to say this is not who we choose to be as a people, and this is not where we choose to go as a people, is so important. And and so at that point, some people say, oh, this is chaos, right? Oh no, everything's just chaotic. I don't understand what's going on. This is so hard to process when so much is coming at you. And that is true. Our nervous system, as somebody on social media said, our nervous systems are not wired to know what the sickest person on the planet is doing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But I would also say, the opposite, a profound truth, the opposite of a profound truth is also true. It is chaos, but it's also by design, right? Trying to infuse the religious state, but then also use that religious state to perpetrate violence upon children and hospitals in Iran at the same time, to vilify, for years and years, to vilify Muslim people of the Muslim faith, and then use the language of the Muslim faith to say we're going to kill people of the Muslim faith. It just, all of that is designed to be chaotic, where it's designed to have us feeling overwhelmed as a people, because the second we step on his playing field, it's just, chaos, it's just storms. But if we can pull back and decide who we are as a people, to link with each other in our own faith and belief, to link with each other in our own belief in humanity and the goodness of people and our capacity to think, we can continue to think about what's happening and what to do to take meaningful action. Minnesota has shown us that. When we return to ourselves, that's where clarity is. That's where purpose is. That's where it becomes clear how to move forward.
Betsy, I appreciate you saying it that way. And I say this so many times when someone really starts to, to preach, so to speak, and I mean that in the most respectful of ways, is I just put my pen down and I listen. And what you just said about the chaos and trying to draw us into that playing field or onto that playing field is precisely it, because the more that people sort of go down that path and get ugly and uglier and uglier, the more that this chaos and this chaos agent wins, because that's doing two things. It's giving people something to fight that's really not a fight, or fighting for something that is really his fight, one. And then secondly, it pulls us away from one another. And so I want to circle back to something that took place that was about all of us coming together, that happened across the globe, and those are the rallies and the protests from last weekend, or previous weekend, the No Kings rally. And that was a sign of us saying, we are going to stay together. We are going to fight together. We are going to, in the words of Maya Angelou, recognize that we have more like each other than we have unlike each other. And so talk a little bit about your experience with Mr. Bruce Springsteen and and how the boss put it down last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was the largest, people call it the largest day of protest around the country in the history of our country. I would also say it was the largest gathering on behalf of our beliefs and on behalf of our neighbors in American history, which was so heartening. I was in St. Paul for the No Kings rally, where largest gathering in Minnesota history, as far as I know. It was just, I was nearer the front and I could look back and I could just, it was just Minnesotans coming together for purpose as far as the eye could see. And, Bruce Springsteen chose to play that. It was the signature rally around the country, of course, because both of what happened and who was killed in Minnesota by ICE, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, but also because of the way Minnesota came together. And Bruce wrote that beautiful song, Streets of Minneapolis. Yeah. It was, when I first heard the song, it was very odd to hear the word Nicollet come out of Bruce Springsteen's mouth, and then to see it happen live was also extraordinary. But and then he started his No Kings tour. He understands the assignment, Bruce Springsteen, that this is a moment for everybody to, whatever you have to bring to the table, now is the time to bring it to the table. And he has his music and, an entire career of loving and following Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger and, all kinds of folks, protest music. And he said from stage, I was also at the opening of the tour, he said from stage, this was an unplanned tour, but we understand how America's feeling because we're feeling the same way, and the E Street Band is here on the Land of Hope and Dreams tour. And I think it's just emblematic of everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody in the country is bringing what they have to offer to the table.
That's a very, very powerful statement. And it is the tool that we have. We have the tool of we right now. And
yes,
the more that we focus on that, I mean, every day on my show, I talk about what the craziness is, but then try my best to provide a solution or at least a pathway or thought process about how we move forward. And when you talk about the stress factors and things that people are feeling, last Friday before we wrapped up, I asked everybody to find a thing or a couple of things that you can use to help you deflect some of the stress or at least acknowledge. Maybe that's the start. Acknowledge that it exists. I mean, we know that. You and I both in our lives have had our various experiences with different forms of therapy and readings and all the rest. Start with acknowledging that this is a stressful time. And then from there, start to build whatever arsenal that one can. And oftentimes that arsenal is connecting with other people. And that's what I think is so powerful about the rallies, is that it allowed folks who may have had in their heart and in their mind, and their spirit, like no place to go. They felt like there's no way to go right now. So it's a human thing to become insular. Like, I'm going to turn inward. I'm not going to. But the rallies have said, no, let's come out. Let's get out here. Let's connect with other people who are probably feeling the same thing and thinking some of the same things. And that then helps you to feel a little less crazy in this moment, don't you think?
I agree. As we were talking about before, this chaos is by design. President Trump, his administration, and the forces behind us, they want us shadowboxing. They want us, punching and not landing on anything. You poke their agenda, and there's just no there in terms of values and belief, except for fear and control, which are the fuel. And so as long as we're shadowboxing, we can't tell there's anybody there. Mm-hmm. So when we can come together, when we can return to ourselves and return to each other, when we can gather in spaces and see each other and understand that we all agree that this does not reflect the best of us as a people, then there's a there. We can lay down our swords and shields for a moment, and we can really connect as human beings.
And I think that I've referenced this a few times over the last year. Last year at our 20th anniversary, Mayor Brandon Johnson here in Chicago said that the opportunity and the responsibility that we have as, Democrats, progressive liberal Democrats, or just right-minded people, is to take back humanity and not let our dignity be robbed and our humanity be to follow that. And I think right now that's the big thing for me and certainly others, I hope, is to recognize part of what you just said, is that it's just taking that back or not allowing that to be removed from us, and making sure that we are processing things in a way that we can say, I know I'm connected to other folks. Betsy, before you respond, we have to take a quick break, a little bit of a break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. After working several odd jobs in New York City, Henry Johnson found his way into the National Guard during World War I. Johnson was assigned to the 369th Infantry Regiment, but the all-black unit was better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. The Hellfighters' first task was assisting the French Fourth Army. On May 15, 1918, Hellfighter Johnson noticed Germans attempting to break in. Johnson retreated to get backup from the French troops, noticing German soldiers were attempting to kidnap another Hellfighter. Despite standing at only 5'4", Johnson sprung into action. With only 3 bullets and a bolo knife, Johnson was able to kill 4 enemy soldiers and wounded 21 others, causing them to retreat, saving himself and his men. However, Johnson received a total of 21 injuries all over his body, including his left foot being shattered. Johnson was discharged, and his papers did not show his heroism or his injury, leaving him unable to receive any disability compensation, leaving Johnson penniless at the time of his death at age 36. Johnson's heroism went unnoticed for decades until President Barack Obama awarded him the Medal of Honor in 2015.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Child Watch educates parents and kids about abduction prevention. This is Don Wood, who says kids don't know who a stranger is.
If you go home tonight and you ask your child to give a physical description of a stranger, you're probably going to get why they don't understand who a stranger could be. They'll probably come back with it's a really bad person, they're ugly, they wear dark clothes, and generally these abductors are very charming. Children can get fooled very easily by somebody who's very nice if they don't recognize that person as dangerous. The other thing what you want to teach children is adults don't ask children for help. That's one of the easiest lures to get a child, because a child feels very important when an adult comes up and says, I'm lost, I need some directions. It just doesn't make sense that an adult would ask a child for help.
Visit the Child Watch website for more safety rules at childwatch.org. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chew.
We're back, guys. Thanks for being with us this morning. We are talking with Betsy Hodges, former mayor of the great city of Minneapolis, about a little bit of everything from chaos to Bruce Springsteen. And one of the areas that is, some would say, a life's work for Betsy, and that's her observations on race and gender. And I would be very confident in saying that these next names are names that Betsy is very familiar with. Ann Braden, Jane Elliott, Jesse Daniel Ames, Virginia Foster Durr, Peggy McIntosh, all white women who took up arms when it comes to fairness, equity, balance in the space of race, but also just in general when it comes to humanity. Betsy, take a moment and talk about how those names, those women have impacted your life in one way or another.
Well, I mean, you listed off so many of my heroes and heroines in life that, the work that I took up in 1992 was enrolling white people in the work of racial equity. And I didn't understand when I looked and I found everybody else that I could who also had taken up that mantle. What I couldn't understand when I started on the path was how much of myself would be returned to me in the process. Because when I started, I didn't even realize how much was lost. And I keep that in, and what I mean by that is for white people, we're told that racial equity is just asking us to give up all this good stuff. And what I would say in my response and what I learned is that actually the process of learning to be white is an invitation to lose parts of ourselves. To our conversation before, all oppression is designed to strip away parts of people's humanity. And what happens is when you're in the oppressor role, you think, oh, I am going to dehumanize you, or I'm not going to see the other person as fully human. And what we don't understand is that when we do that, we're actually stripping away bits of our own humanity. So really, this work is a reclamation project that we get to reclaim our full human selves as people of European descent, but our full human selves, our capacity to think and connect and grow and love and take our full seat at the table of humanity. And that is not a zero-sum proposition, right? It's not a loss game. It's not a charity game. It's a humanity game. And right now we're in a moment of rupture where we can see we're waking up a little bit. These systems are designed to get us to sleep, to put us on autopilot and just keep going and have small, mean thoughts about small, mean things. And now we get to have big, loving thoughts about big, loving things because that's the only way through. And all those names you mentioned are people who have grasped onto a piece of that and then offered it to the rest of us to see and grapple with and own for ourselves.
I'm going to read those names again for folks who may want to plug into people that have been sort of indirect mentors in some ways for folks like Betsy and so many other champions of equity when it comes to race. Ann Braden, Jane Elliott, Jesse Daniel Ames, Virginia Foster Durr, and Peggy McIntosh. People that have that committed their lives to making sure that we keep our humanity, and starting in the area of race and starting in the area of trying to balance out that scale. I would say, and I've said this in previous shows, Betsy, that part of the problem that we have, maybe the biggest problem, and if I'm going to be honest as I always have to be, in this country is race. It's not it's not the economy. And the reason I say it's not the economy or the other areas is because race, anything that is regarding resources that we use, even time, always comes back to we got to divvy it up so that those brown folks don't get that much of it. And look at immigration right now. That's about race, because there certainly weren't a lot of people that look like you that were being grabbed and snatched off the street. I mean, unfortunately, but I think this is what brought the attention to the world, is that the two people that we saw get assassinated look like you. This time they didn't look like me. But I think that race is the thing that it's the biggest weight or anchor on our country. And now what we're doing in the Middle East is perpetuating sort of a global racism on a community of people and a religion. Tell me I'm crazy, or at least let me back in class because I did the homework, Betsy.
Oh, I don't think you're crazy at all. When you really dive deeply into the 250 years ago, the founding of this country, but even before that, the economic system that European people installed here, it was all based on race. All of our social systems were built on a foundation of racism. All of our social systems, right? Our government, you can take a look at the Constitution. Race was built into the Constitution of the United States of America. Our founding document accounted for slavery in very harmful ways that we are still doing our best to avoid grappling with. Let me put it that way. Our education system, our law enforcement and public safety systems, all of it, all of our systems. Our medical system, our healthcare system. Our medical system, our healthcare system, employment and how we think about employment, all of it, the race and the economy and all of those pieces are so fully wrapped around and in each other that to pull one apart, you can't get our ship headed in the direction we want to go until we really grapple with the fact that baked in to every system we have is race. And part of the system is that cultural system where we also socialize people into the racial norms, right? So I was enculturated into white racial norms, which includes beliefs that white people are somehow better in some mysterious way, different and better, even though there are not subspecies of human beings and we are not different and better, but we are taught that. But it's also things like white people being taught that we can't think about race. Of course we can think about race. Right? But we are socialized to just defer thinking about race until later, or onto people of color and onto people of the global majority. And so, no, you are absolutely correct when you say that, right? And the strong man politics abroad and the white racial politics at home, they run on the same fuel, as we were talking about earlier. They run on the same fuel, fear and control, right? What we're doing abroad and what Trump is doing abroad and what Trump is doing here at home play on the same fears and the same desire for control, the same desire for dictatorship that he's doing everything. Yeah, it's so well put when you talk about that in terms of the strong men, if you will, outside of the country, and then in that same attitude here in the U.S. And every place that the military or ICE has tried to go into, it's been about strength over compassion and reason and better use of resources and all the rest. And this is why I'm so excited about being able to have time to talk with you today, but certainly as we build our relationship and be able to bring more to our listeners all over the country. I'm very, very excited about that, because if I can say something about Betsy that I've learned from watching and listening and reading about her, she is not afraid to talk about this topic.
at all. So it's an honor, and it's going to be really cool to be able to have more of these kinds of conversations with you. So give us, as we wrap up, Betsy, something that listeners can take with them. I'm a big believer in that. What can our listeners take with them to kind of stout themselves up during this crazy time that we're fighting through?
I would say a couple things. One, music and art have always been the fuel of resistance and thriving in the world and in this country. So find the music that helps you remember who you are and connect to other people. Find the art, find each other. And so that's the first one, is the art and the music, etc. But the second one is fundamental to that, which is anytime you're feeling overwhelmed or crazy, just remember that's by design. And the best antidote for it is to find each other, find another human being. It's more than go touch grass. It's go hold hands, go take action together, go remember what it is you're fighting for.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Betsy Hodges, former mayor of Minneapolis, with us this morning, and take heed to the words that she just shared with you guys. They're important, and they're ones that we all can use and benefit from. Looking forward to having you back again, Betsy. Thanks for taking some time to hang out with us this morning.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM, 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And starting this day, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no. So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
As a veteran, you get a lot of advice, but wisdom's harder to come by. A lot of people imagine themselves in our shoes without understanding the weight on our shoulders. The truth is, few can understand the pressure of finding your own way after serving in the military. But few isn't none. Steady yourself. You're not alone. You've got support. Learn more at maketheconnection.net.
As farmers and ranchers, stewardship of the land comes naturally. Your work keeps our water clean, improves the soil, and enhances wildlife habitat. It also provides countless benefits, not just for you and your family, but for millions of Americans who depend on this region every day without even realizing it. Thank you for being stewards of America's prairie for all of us. Take a moment to find out how conservation pays. Visit conservationpays.org.
From posters and presentations to labels and loyalty cards, Staples has all the print to boost your brand. Shop now in-store and online. Staples, that was easy.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. And for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 28. By Tuesday, sunshine, high 41 degrees. Wednesday, mostly cloudy and breezy. We'll see a high around 64. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 41.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. President Trump is still eyeing an agreement with Iran, even as he warns of a possible serious escalation in the conflict. In an interview with Fox News Sunday, the president said that if Iran doesn't make a deal fast, he's considering, in his words, blowing everything up and taking over the oil. Earlier in the day, Trump wrote in a profanity-laden Truth Social post that Iran would be in living hell if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, adding that Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day all wrapped up in one in Iran. Iran says it won't reopen the Strait of Hormuz for a temporary ceasefire and is criticizing President Trump over his latest threats to destroy energy infrastructure if no deal is reached by tomorrow. More from Ross Cullen.
Iran's parliamentary speaker Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf has said, quote, "Your reckless moves are dragging the United States into a living hell for every single family, and our whole region is going to burn because you insist on following Netanyahu's commands."
That's a reference to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. An Iranian official said today that Iran is reviewing a plan for a ceasefire sent over by Pakistani mediators. But the official added that Iran doesn't believe the U.S. is ready for a permanent ceasefire and that it won't be pressured into accepting deadlines. The Artemis II crew is preparing for a flyby the lunar surface today. While in their Orion spacecraft, the 4 astronauts will come within 4,000 miles of the surface of the moon at their closest approach. The stage is set for the men's NCAA basketball tournament national championship. More from Mark Mayfield.
Number 1 Michigan squares off against second-seeded UConn from Indianapolis tonight. The Wolverines blew out Arizona in the Final Four to advance and are playing for their second-ever title after winning the March Madness tourney in 1989.
Despite uncertainty in Iran, S&P 500 futures are nudging higher before the opening bell. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hi, I'm Marcel Spears. Keeping our global neighborhood safe is a tough job, one made just a bit safer with the help of America's brave military dogs. These dogs, who often take the same risks and make the same sacrifices as our human warriors, keep our troops safe by sniffing out bombs and IEDs, locating enemy positions, and bringing a sense of comfort and home to an almost unimaginable circumstance. Yet, when these brave canine heroes retire, they're not always given the same treatment as our military VIPs, and are too often left overseas. American Humane works to bring home these valiant dogs and reunite them with the people who mean the most to them, their handlers, so they can enjoy happy, healthy, well-deserved retirements. To learn how you can help America's four-footed heroes, visit AmericanHumane.org.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. First, thanks again to Betsy Hodges for being with us this morning. She's great. She is thoughtful. She's obviously hugely experienced, and she's doing great work right now in the space of racism and humanity. So we will be talking with Betsy a little bit more frequently as in the weeks to come. So I'm looking forward to that. One of the comments that you guys sent in regarding her is, hey, Richard, is this woman running for 2028 VP candidate? Might be a good choice, just saying. I don't disagree. I mean, if she chooses to run, she'll be a good candidate. So we'll see. She obviously has held public office before, so she knows how to campaign and how to win. So we'll see. And speaking of that, we're going to have we're going to have a full stage. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of people vying for the presidency in 2028. So we'll see how that plays out. In the meantime, we've got some work to do as it relates to the midterms, and we'll talk about that obviously in the weeks to come. Right now, I want to stand on point on a couple other things. Going back to the question that I asked earlier about if how we feel about this administration as it relates to Christianity, as it relates to faith. Do you think that there is religious hypocrisy embedded in this administration? One of the responses that we got from one of our Facebook listeners, I think we can say his name. Are we cool with his first name? Yeah. Miguel says that Trump doesn't have a spiritual cell in his being. He panders to Christians, small c, because he thinks he will get more votes from them. I wouldn't say that's incorrect, because going back to the 2016 campaign, there was the attempt to sort of, have these faith-based people around him, putting their hands on him, making it seem like he was, touched by God. It's I've always said that it's interesting how the people who want to head fake on their faith and their religion do that. But there you go. So we'll keep talking about it, and I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to get your responses as it relates to Trump in this space, or the White House or the administration, if there is religious hypocrisy embedded in this administration. We're going to move the table along to have a great conversation with the chief. What would I say? The chief democracy defender, and that's the current senior advisor of Democracy Defenders Action Fund. Good morning, Ms. Lavora Barnes. Welcome back to the show. Just talked to you a couple of weeks ago. How you been?
I've been great. Had a little vacation with the family, and I'm happy to be here with you now.
Yeah, it's always great to have you on and to prepare to talk with you, because one of the things that I love about the work that you've done, but also the work that you're doing, is that you package it in a way so people can take something from it and then go get something done, go do some work. Yeah. And you know what I mean? When you were on last time, we got into this question and we didn't have enough time. So it was, what is it that you want to see young folks doing? And you were talking about how important it is to make sure that our younger activists have a place to be, not just in the short term, meaning from election cycle to election cycle, but that they're part of the brand. They're part of the new DNA of our team, if you will. Let's start off, Lavora, talking about that so we don't miss that opportunity today.
Yeah, I think it's so important that as all of us move forward, whether we are activists inside the Democratic Party, whether we are progressive activists, whether we are what we call center-left activists, whatever action it is that you plan to take to support this democracy, to protect this democracy, and to help us move past Trumpism once we have won back the House, once we've won the Senate, once we've won back the White House. The goal that we should all have in mind is, how do we continue to grow our movements for the future? How do we continue to think about how we protect this democracy in the future? And it's our young people. And that means that we should all be building branches of our movement on college campuses, on community college campuses, and in spaces where young folks are active, keeping in mind that not all young folks have the opportunity or the willingness or the desire to go to college. So it can't just be on college campuses, but anywhere we can find our young people. Let's go down to high schools even and find these young folks and get them active and give them on-ramps to the movement. And that means making it easy and making them feel welcome in our spaces. And I think for so many of us who started out as young folks in a movement who didn't necessarily feel welcome, felt like we were fighting to get in the door, I want to make it easier for young folks to feel valued inside our movement. And that means creating spaces where they are welcome, where their voices can be heard, and also where they can find jobs. You look around and, the Republicans do a terrific job of creating this pipeline of jobs that become another job that then become, a freaking member of Congress. And we don't do that. We don't do that at all. We give them a job for a cycle, and then we send them on their merry way. And I would love to see us building that pipeline so that young folks can get that first job in politics, and that first job helps them find their second job, and that second job helps them find their third job if they want to keep working in politics. And we need to just put all of our noses to the grindstone to figure out how we build a system that allows our young folks to get in and stay in politics if that's what they want to do. And we just don't do it. And so we've become the party where a couple of good folks find a good job in Congress, and then maybe they help other folks find jobs. But it is not easy, and it is not simple for folks to even figure out where to start in terms of finding that first job. And then we also need to figure out, how do we support the folks who don't want the job? They just want to help the democracy. They just want to do more than just vote, but maybe they don't want to take a job that requires them to work ridiculous hours for a little pay, but that they still want to be involved. And that's where we, find our volunteer paths in ways that folks can step up and participate in the process and not feel like they aren't doing enough, but feel like they have an opportunity to help support the movement. And beyond just showing up at a protest, help them find the other things that they can do. How do I go to my state legislature and lobby them for things that are important to my community and to me? How do I go to Congress and lobby them for things that are important? How do I rally with my community to talk about things like how I fix that broken stoplight down the street if that's what I need to get fixed? And we don't do enough work to provide access to all of those things for our young folks. We make it seem like it's an obstacle course that you might win, but you got to get on that obstacle course first. And I want to make it easier.
Yeah, and I know that so many people are saying that, we need new blood, we need younger blood. I think we need new blood that's and I've said this before, Lavora, not just chronologically younger, but maybe mindset and thought process and all that younger. A 20-year-old coming into this political conversation, or a 50-year-old coming into it, or that may have been in it for a while and stepped away because it was just too murky for them. But the new energy, I think that's where we have so many opportunities right now, is to fill those gaps, is by finding the people that have the new energy, that have the energy that can be applied to the work that needs to be done. And I love what you said about identifying what the person needs versus what we need to tell them that they should be doing in this conversation, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Lavora, we got to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM, 103.5 FM. And now AM 950, the voice, progressive voice of Minnesota. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Tax season is upon us, everyone. And since we're not billionaires, the president, or any members of the GOP, it means we have to pay taxes. Let's look at some of the biggest taxpayer companies that support the Democrat Party. H&R Block. Now, H&R Block is a rare one. It's the company, their senior leaders, and their employees, all their political donations went to Democratic candidates in 2024. Jackson Hewitt. Now, Jackson Hewitt as a company does not give to politics. However, out of their senior leaders' political donations, 63% of those donations went to Democrats. Liberty Tax. Now, Liberty Tax as a company does not donate to politics. However, there is one senior leader who makes political donations, and all those donations went to Democrats. And of course, you can always go to those local small mom-and-pop tax preparers. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
In 1776, we defied a corrupt king, and the America we love was born from that defiance. Now it's time to do it again. America is in crisis, but patriots across the country are standing up to save her for ourselves and our posterity. Show your support with the No King's lapel pin, a 1-inch by 1-inch standard American flag lapel pin embedded with our No King symbol. So much better than that tacky red hat. It's a subtle but powerful way to say you've had enough of wannabe dictators and you're doing something about it. Every day, keep our movement going by wearing this pin that clearly says what freedom-loving Americans are thinking. There are no kings in America, and there never will be. Go to store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. That's store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Get your No Kings lapel pin now.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
If you're just tuning in, this is Chew's Views. I'm Richard Chew, and I'm talking to Lavora Barnes, who is the current senior advisor of the Democracy Defenders Action Fund. Lavora, so before we went to break, you were talking about we need to, kind of build up, strengthen, bring more folk in, make it more interesting, and make it long lasting. So one of the questions I want to ask you in that space is it a lack of vision? Is it just we've gotten so used to doing it a certain way as a Democratic Party? And if that's the case, then how do we break that? And I know that's a long question, or a question with a long answer, but is it lack of vision? Is it something else? What are you seeing it to be? Stubbornness, hard-headedness?
It's funny because when we were going to break, I was actually thinking that one of the things we need is we're talking about bringing new and young voices into the party. One of the things we just need people who don't say we've never done it that way before, so we can't do it. It is, I think, a systemic problem inside the party that we go back to the way we have done things cycle after cycle the same way over and over again, and it drives me crazy. It's one of the things I used to say, my executive director and I used to say it at the state party all the time, don't come to me and say we're doing this because it's the way we've always done it. And that's not a reason to do it again. And I think that is a big part of the problem. A big part of the problem, though, is funding, because of the way money is spent in politics. So often you need to be able to find, the magic thing that the funders want to pay for in order to raise money to run programming. And often it's the same thing. The funders want to pay for what they know to be tried and true, what they know that folks have done before, what they think works. And that becomes the same thing over and over again. And we've got to stop going back to those same funders again then, right? Find other ways to raise money. Use grassroots fundraising to raise money to support programming. Ask folks to support programming that is new and different and not the same all the time. I know from my experience that there are plenty of folks out there who are willing to invest in a program, even if it's never been done before, because it has the potential to bring young folks to the table, to bring young folks in. I found someone when I was at the party who was willing to invest in an internship program, so I could pay interns for an entire summer to just make up ideas and think of ways to involve other young folks in the process. And this funder wrote me large checks to help me pay those young folks, and they came up with a whole program of social media outreach, on-the-ground outreach for young folks in Michigan that we had never done before. They did things like, hey, we ought to be on Discord. I'm like, I don't know what Discord is, but y'all go ahead, right? And because they understood that we needed to find young people in different places in different ways. And that was because I found a funder who understood and believed not only in me, but in my vision of having young folks doing things inside and around the party that was new and different. And I think we just need all of us, from our national party leaders all the way down to the folks running local clubs in their cities, need to be thinking outside that box and finding folks who will help them fund programs that are different and new and allow young folks to thrive.
You know, Betsy, I wrote down the words Citizens United, but I'm going to set that aside because what you're talking about isn't really changing that part of this conversation when it comes to political money.
Yes.
It's Citizens United is a big part of funding for candidates and throwing money at candidates. But when it comes to organizations like Democracy Defenders and so many others, one of the things that I see, and I've said this before on the show so many times, frankly, that I don't think that our conversation around money is being looked at the right way. And what I mean by that is this. I think that the party, the folks that call themselves Democrats in all stretches of our communities, all across the country, I think we have the money, to be honest with you. Let me lay this out, and then you pull me back from the edge on this. I've said this before, and I'm going to give you the edited version so you can take some time before we wrap up. If all of the folks that are out there that are the wealthy people or the mid-wealthy or the lightly wealthy or everybody said, this thing called our democracy is really important to me. Another Benz, another vacation home, and I'm not denigrating anybody in that space, so nobody get your undies in a bundle about that. Or another vacation or another this, that, or the other. I'm going to put that aside for a couple of years because we need to get things back on track and put money into our systems like the groups that you are involved with and others, that we have the money to make the things happen that you just talked about in terms of deepening our bench of activists and volunteers and young voices. Pull me back from the edge if I've gone too far.
So I'm gonna even go with you on this edge and take it a step further. Because when these people who have decided to dedicate funds to politics instead of whatever other philanthropy that they have chosen, right? Mm-hmm. Like you may be the kind of person who is philanthropic and you give, but you don't give politically. And I'm going to challenge those folks to give politically. And I'm not saying don't give to the NAACP, don't give to other organizations. I'm saying take a piece of your philanthropy and dedicate it to protecting this democracy. But also I'm going to say, maybe we don't all need to be dumping millions of dollars into candidate campaigns that aren't going to win. And I'm saying this because we get very excited about the one or two candidates out there who are running for something, running against someone that we all hate, but they're not going to win because the way this country is gerrymandered, because the way our elections work, but we dump millions into it. And some of my good friends have run for these offices and have raised millions of dollars that, frankly, in my opinion, we then flushed down the toilet when we could have used those $1 million to invest in the infrastructure that would be supporting candidates from the bottom of the ticket to the top, candidates who are young and are new and are running in places where they could win if they had just a little bit more support. And then they become that bench of candidates that we would now have to be running against some of these folks who are running from the MAGA right all over the country, from dog catcher all the way up. But we need to redistribute these dollars, folks. We need to stop all of us piling on the same 3 or 4 races across the country and look for places to invest that really support the infrastructure that we need. And here's the thing. As our democracy starts to crumble, it is a strong national party that needs to be built up for the comeback. Mm-hmm. And if we don't do that, we run the risk of just perpetrating the mess for years and years and years rather than fixing the mess once we gain the levers of power. We need strong parties, strong infrastructure to do that.
I think one of the challenges that we face there is that, or let me put it this way, I don't want to see us win the midterms as an example, and maybe we win the House and the Senate, and then in the next cycle we lose it again. Mm-hmm. Because that's
exactly right.
Yeah, I think I've been saying that. It's like, listen, let's win and win again and win again. And the way we do that is by building our bench and building our, the folks that are maybe not the ones that we hear about, but the ones that become the next great things. And I don't know that that's a universal thought, but I do believe that we've got to start to look in that direction. As we can't keep going back and forth and playing this yo-yo game. We got to keep winning. So, yeah. Lavora, go ahead.
Winning an infrastructure, building a machine that works all the time, not just every 4 years. No. That's how we win over and over again.
Or every 2 years, for that matter, in terms of how our midterms are set up with regard to the House. And there's probably so many people that are running right now that probably agree with that, but the structure, the system is the way that it is set up the way that it is, and that's just sort of a historical issue that we don't know if we can fix all of that right now, but we've got to start thinking differently about how we do win in a more momentum-driven way. Lavora, give our listeners a couple of quick things. One, how they can find you, but also, just as we wrap up, what are a couple of things that you would like to see people doing right now as it relates to their effort in helping in the space that we've been talking about today?
That's really great. First, I'm at Democracy Defenders. So if you Google us, democracydefenders.org, you will find Democracy Defenders Fund, Democracy Defenders Action, terrific organization doing some really great work both in the C3 and the C4 space, and also we have a PAC. Would love folks to come find us. Also find us on Substack. Find me on Substack. I try to write a Substack every week, talking about what issues I think are important and where I think folks should be stepping in to help out. And then, of course, I'm in Blue Sky, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm in all the places. I think that right now the things that we should be doing, and I think a lot of us are doing them, but maybe in a little bit of a vacuum. We need to be talking about what's happening in this country right now in a way that folks understand the threat to their democracy, the threat to their right to vote, the threat to their family, and the threat to their future. And that means talking to folks outside of your little circle of people who already know that, but sort of taking that information and spreading it further and wider. That means showing up in places like your book club or wherever your kids take dance lessons, and not being afraid to engage those folks in these conversations about what's going on, and make sure people understand that there are threats to their right to vote, threats to their family's income, all coming from this current administration. And if we don't all talk about it and then go vote for the right people who, in my mind, are the time, we can't get it done.
Lavora, thanks for being with us this morning. The number we're going to take a quick break. We didn't cut her off too soon. 773-763-9278 is the number. I'm Richard Chu. You're listening to Chu's Views on WCPT here in Chicago. We're listening in Minneapolis. We're in North Carolina. We're everywhere. We'll be right back.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together.
Turn your tax refund into a new storage shed at Menards. Make this the year you check that project off the list. This spring, get organized and expand your backyard storage space. Arrow has you covered with durable steel sheds that offer long-lasting protection and look good for years to come. These sheds are pre-cut and pre-drilled for faster assembly. Plus, don't forget to check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. And for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 28. By Tuesday, sunshine, high 41 degrees. Wednesday, mostly cloudy and breezy. We'll see a high around 64. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 43.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to Chew's Views with Richard Chew. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. Thanks to Lavora Barnes, Democracy Defenders. Check out her and the work that she's doing. And Betsy Hodges, former mayor of Minneapolis. Obviously, two great leaders that are out there in the fight every day. And you guys know this our next guest and this gentleman has been in the fight, doing the work that we all know needs to be done. Endless Urgency with Mike Nellis is one of the top podcasts and Substack articles that he puts out every time you turn around, and it's good to have Mike back with us. He's been doing what leaders do and fighters do, and that's putting up your dukes. Good morning, Mike. Welcome back to Choose Views.
Morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to be talking with you. I'm glad you're well. I know I keep you in my thoughts. You've been such a brave person when it comes to your health and taking care of that and making sure that you're moving in the right direction. So you've got my support when it comes to what you're doing in that space.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to just dive into the deep end of the pool because I got to say this, man. I'm going to ask you this question. Have you ever, and be honest, because I know you will be, have you ever begged your boss not to fire you during a dramatic showdown in the conference room, but to keep your job, as Pam Bondi, as the reports have said, did when it comes to her job in the administration?
I mean, I have a vague memory of being a 16-year-old kid being fired for being too lazy at a Walgreens once. So probably, yeah. But I think we should hold our elected leaders in the White House to a higher standard than me at 16.
As a grown-ass man, you haven't done that, to your recollection. So, wow.
No.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
what a
disaster.
What a disaster.
Yeah. What other words can we use? I mean, and I asked this question the other day, Mike. What did the listeners, what does our audience think? And by the way, you should know this as well. We're now syndicated on AM 950, which is the progressive voice up in Minneapolis. So just shout out to them and great for all of us that are part of this show, including yourself when it comes to that. But that being said, what do you think is the real reason that Pam Bondi got fired?
Yeah, well, first of all, shout out to our friends in Minneapolis because you guys are the real heroes, putting your bodies on the line, taking these people on.
For real.
Nothing but love and respect. Also, I am an adamant Twins and Vikings fan, so I think the synergy here is very real. My apologies to the Chicago half that just learned something devastating about me.
Quiet as it's kept.
But I married into it, folks. I'm sorry. So look, I think that Pam Bondi basically did everything that Donald Trump wanted her to do. She debased herself at congressional hearings. She covered up the abuse of little kids in the Epstein files. She targeted and attempted to prosecute Donald Trump's political opponents. She looked the other way at gross amounts of corruption. I think we forget, like, Tom Homan took a $50,000 cash bribe at a DC Cava, and we all just kind of yawned and moved on from that after MS Now reported it. So to me, she did everything that she was supposed to do, but one thing. She was unable to successfully prosecute and target Donald Trump's political opponents. And it's been embarrassing for the president. And so his inability to lock Don Lemon up and lock James Comey up, et cetera, to go after these Democrats that shot a video that they don't like, I think that frustrated Donald Trump. And I think on top of that, he looks at polling numbers showing him a 32% approval rating, according to UMass and YouGov. And he thinks, I got to make some changes. And what he's really doing is he's rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. And we're going to see more of that because apparently Tulsi Gabbard's on the chopping block. Apparently the labor secretary's on the chopping block. I don't know what it says about Trump that he's only at the moment firing the women of his cabinet, but I think we can all draw an inference on that one. And then on top of it, they're talking about Howard Lutnick going. Kash Patel's numbers are rising in these stupid, corrupt prediction markets, but I have to imagine the insider trading is probably somewhat legit. So I think that there is an attempt to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic here. And he thinks if I change out some of these people and I get new sycophants in, it'll be different. But the problem isn't the people he's got around him, although they're incompetent and ridiculous. It's that he's done nothing to help the American people, and everything's worse now. And he's broken the two major promises he made in the campaign. The first being, I'm going to make everything less expensive. The second being, I'm not going to send your sons and daughters over to another forever war to die. And so he's broken those promises, and that's why his approval rating is plummeting. And barring some massive change in the economy, there's not much he can do to prevent his trajectory of being a lame duck loser president.
Not at all. And, I think you're right about Bondi, and I also add to what you said about the women. Obviously, Christine Bondi, Gabbard's, certainly in the line of fire. And I said last week I wouldn't be surprised if Caroline Leavitt can't defend him more vociferously, that she may be replaced as well. And ironically, I guess you could say that the replacements have been equally incompetent folk. They just happen to be guys. So that's a path that's a detour to nowhere in my opinion. Mark Wayne Mullen, no, and Todd Blanche, no. So we'll see how that ends up. But I agree with you that she was not able to go after the people that he would have given him a sense of wins, and in fact they just added to the loss ratios that he has been adding up and accumulating. So thank you for that.
Can I add something to this as well, Richard?
Go.
It's just, we have an increasingly desperate president of the United States, and the more desperate that he is, the more big swings that he's going to take, because he's basically the equivalent of a rabid animal trapped in a corner. So I think we should interpret almost everything that he does, which is always like pumping his chest and acting like he's the world's greatest president and we're living in a golden age, as just the sign of a weak, insecure man, because that's what he is. So he's going to start firing people because he can't look inward to blame himself for the mistakes that he's put on. He's going to start, he's going to keep threatening celebrities, like he started attacking Bruce Springsteen last week over something that happened like a full week ago. I don't even understand why he was doing that other than to distract us. And then these weird Truth Social posts about Iran this weekend, like yesterday, being like, I'm going to basically blow up all your civilian infrastructure, praise be to Allah. Like, that's increasingly desperate. And I think that everybody can see that. I think Iran's government can see that this president is weak. And we should interpret it for what it is and not be bamboozled into believing that this is a strong man. He's not a strong man. He's weak. At the end of the day, he would love to be a strong dictator to rule over America, but he doesn't even have it in him. And the system is holding just enough to prevent it from happening. But he's weak, and the midterms are coming, and he's sweating.
Yeah, and to your point about him not being strong enough to even do that, to be a dictator, it's sort of like we can see this based on his actions. He thinks he wants to be that, but to be an actual dictator requires a certain amount of energy and strength, actually, that he doesn't have, because he's got all of his minion doing the work, and when they fail him, it's a reflection of him as a failure. And I think that's a great observation on your part about how he's running things right now. Mike, I want to talk about something else that I honestly, one of the first people that came to mind when I saw this was you. And it is I asked a question earlier, if there is religious hypocrisy embedded in this administration. So I'm going to throw that out to you as a question, but I'm also going to add to this, this whole thing that Hegseth did with regard, and this is why I say this, you came to mind very quickly, about Hegseth's Pentagon excluding Catholic soldiers from Good Friday liturgy. And I thought, I grew up Catholic light, Baptist light, Jewish light, all the rest light, because I decided to take in a variety of religions in my learning years because I wanted to better understand. So I've been to all the different services as I've been able to over the years. But I know some folks like you who were raised Catholic and are devout Catholics, and that's a part of who you are as a human being. And I thought about this, and I was like, talk about Christian nationalism on steroids. And many of the people that voted, and help us through this, Mike, many of the people that voted for this administration, for Trump and this administration that came afterward, are Catholics. Talk about this, man.
Yeah. Well, one, I think asking if there's religious hypocrisy inside the Trump administration is like asking if the holy water is wet. So the answer's sort of obvious. I mean, we have a president that I don't think has actually touched a Bible unless he's got his name on it, and he's making 20 cents on the dollar when you sell it. So yes, there is a tremendous amount of religious hypocrisy here. And like I've been saying this for a while, whether or not Catholics who voted for Trump want to hear it, MAGA hates Catholics. Like, I don't know how else to describe this. If you look at the rhetoric from them when they talk about Catholicism online, it's absolutely disgusting. They are constantly at war with Pope Leo. And Pope Leo, by the way, from the great city of Chicago, I'll do the like WWE style promo where you say the city's name. But, it is constantly articulating a alternative version to Christianity and defending Catholic values. And they can't stop attacking him for it and claiming that he's not a real Christian, that he's not really representing the religion, because only the dear leader can do that. J.D. Vance is the perfect personification of that. This yokel decides that he's going to put out a book about his conversion to Catholicism. And what does he do? He slaps a Methodist church on the front of the cover of his book.
I know.
It's just... The stupidity is staggering, because it's like base level stuff. If you just care about these things, you would find there's a million lovely Catholic churches in this country all around the world. It's not hard. Like, the one thing Catholics get right is architecture, in my opinion, maybe more than anything else. So it's absolutely absurd. And then this thing with Hegseth, look, Hegseth is a Christian nationalist. His personal pastor has been dragged into the Pentagon time and again. This is a man who has said horrific things about women, who has said horrific things about people of color, who twists and uses and abuses the faith and the teachings of Jesus to justify the terrible things that they want to do. And I'm sick of it. And it's really scary because Hegseth is firing generals left and right. They fired the army chaplain Saturday morning, right? The day before Easter. I don't understand what that's about. And then the service on Friday, they didn't so much exclude Catholics as they alienated them, right? Like, they decided to host a specifically Protestant service for Good Friday. And then they went out of their way to like anger Catholics in doing so, instead of having a non-denominational service, which is what they should be doing. And Catholics, by the way, don't usually go to church. There's a separate ceremony that you do where you do the Stations of the Cross. And so I just don't understand it. And it just seems needlessly cruel. And again, I think the broader point here is forget all their actions, which are meaningful and horrible. They wrap themselves, this is what conservative politicians, not conservative human beings do, but conservative politicians wrap themselves in the flag. They wrap themselves with the Bible. They wrap themselves with family values, and they use it to make themselves bulletproof, to go, you can't attack me, I'm a Christian. You can't attack me, I'm a patriot. You can't attack me, I have family values. And then almost exclusively, these people are tremendous hypocrites, right? Christy Nome spent how much time attacking trans kids and drag queens, and then her husband's wearing, I can't even say the words I want to, but like fake boobs and like going around and bibifying himself. And like, I don't really care what Christino's husband is doing, but they care what we're doing. And so I just am so sick of all of it. It's just the hypocrisy staggering.
Yeah, that part there I just lean in the same direction. It's the hypocrisy. We got to take a quick break, Mike. The number is 773-763-9278. You are listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Mike Nellis, and we'll be right back.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left for a week, a month, a year, What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert, to teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. As the Donald Trump administration forces ICE to go out grabbing innocent civilians off the streets, it's just kind of ironic how MAGA and even ICE themselves enjoy eating in Mexican restaurants. So let's look at some of the biggest Mexican restaurant chains that support the Democrat Party. Del Taco and Taco Cabana. Now, Del Taco and Taco Cabana are both owned by Yadav Enterprises. The company itself does not donate to politics. However, their founder and CEO, Anil Yadav, only donates to Democrats. Taco Bueno. Taco Bueno is owned by Sun Holdings. Sun Holdings as a company does not give to politics, but their CEO does, and he's kind of varies. He's donated to Hillary Clinton, and he's also donated to Marco Rubio. However, he has never donated a single cent to Donald Trump. So MAGA, since you have a problem with undocumented immigrants but love eating their food, I have a solution. How about you go order a taco salad from Trump Tower? Don't worry, it's as authentic as your president's tan. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Loved one owns a gun, and you're concerned about their behavior. You're worried they might harm themselves or others. You wish more than anything you could hit pause on this situation. In Illinois, a firearm restraining order does just that. In extreme cases, this order temporarily prevents a person in crisis from having a firearm, giving them time to heal before they do something dangerous. Learn more at illinois.gov/pause to heal. Brought to you by the Illinois Department of Public Health, Brady and the Ad Council.
Tell me how you're doing. Really. Tell me that you missed the bus this morning, your rent's past due, and your stress level has skyrocketed. I'm here for you. To listen, not judge. To connect you to local mental health resources. No matter what you're going through, specialists like me from NAMI Chicago Helpline are here for you. Call or text Helpline to 833-626-4244. That's 833-626-4244.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
No fake news here. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Chew's Views. I'm Richard Chew, and I'm talking to Mike Nellis, who is Democratic strategist, entrepreneur, a brilliant voice, and the voice of Endless Urgency Substack. Mike, thanks for being with us this morning. Always good to talk with you. Mike sent me a funny text off air that made me almost snort, but we got the wording across that we needed in terms of describing Kristi Noem's husband and his decision to dress a certain way, which Mike and I have no problem with. Just don't be a hypocrite about it. Don't be the one out there going after everybody and talking about how bad everybody else is. And this is, Mike, I know you talk about this a lot, and once again, shout out to you, Adam Mockler, for some of the work that you guys do together. But you talk about that in the context of hypocrisy, going after people, trash talking other folks and what they do in their lives, and that's not bad, it's just different. But then turning around and doing the same thing or something very close to it, and expecting people to not call you on the carpet about it, and it just keeps repeating itself with the people that are part of this administration.
Oh yeah, they're incredible. Like Kristi Noem oversees DHS, sees the murder of Alex Preddy, and her first immediate response is to attack Alex Preddy and say he's a domestic terrorist and he was trying to kill ICE agents and he showed up as an agitator. Blah blah blah. Unnerves a family that's already dealing with the murder of their son, instead of just acting like a normal human being and being like, hey, I'm sorry this happened. Let's let the investigation figure out what happened, et cetera. It's how a government official should act. But her husband is dressing inappropriately relative to the conservative movement. I personally do not care. And, she's like, oh, we need privacy at this time. Can you please, our family's falling apart. Can you please give us privacy? Well, you don't get that kind of grace, lady. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you give the grace, you then receive the grace. And so this happens all the time, is like they will make deep personal attacks on people, and they'll do it because they're all short-term thinking in the MAGA movement when it comes to their politics, but then they want that. And then on top of that, there's a tremendous level of corruption here with Noam, and a lot has been said about the $320 million that she basically stole from the federal government to create some kind of ad campaign that they did. And some of it was legitimate because they did spend money on really bad TV ads that I saw. And if you go to the airport, you can see them.
Yep.
But like, she pocketed a good chunk of that money. But the bigger story is like, they spent a ton of money to retrofit an airplane, the private jet that Kristi Noem uses, so that she could have a queen bed in the back so that she could have sex with Corey Lewandowski. Because they were just openly having an affair. And then Corey Lewandowski was running around DHS as if it was his personal playground. And anytime somebody pointed out that what he was doing was illegal, he would go, oh, don't worry, Donald Trump's going to pardon me and Christie, so it doesn't matter. And so zero grace. And this is, maybe this is a little off topic, but I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days because I saw a tweet that sort of ignited it.
What's that?
This idea that kindness and empathy are going to return in the post-Trump age, which I'm all for, because like I try to be a good human being. I try to take care of my family. I try to take care of others. But I don't want kindness and empathy to be a replacement for weakness and inaction again.
Yep.
And like, we have to prosecute these people for stealing.
Mike, listen, that's not off topic because literally I'm looking at my notes because I wanted to come to you with this. I said last week that one of the things that we have to be, and I was talking with a guest about this. I said one of the things that we have to be prepared to do, and I want to make sure that we make sure that our Democratic elected officials in this upcoming cycle are prepared to do this. Walk in the door. I mean, I even said, Mike, the candidate that runs on, when I'm elected, we're putting some people in, we're holding hearings and we're putting some people in jail, is going to get votes, I believe. I got a couple of critiques and pushbacks. Says, no, Richard, they're not going to happen because Trump's going to pardon everybody. So when you said that about Lewandowski, I thought about that. But I want to come back to you on this. I think that that's the Democrat that decides, and you're more of a strategist by practice than I am, but I just look at it from a common sense standpoint. The Democrat that comes out and says, we're going to hold hearings and we're going to put some people in jail and we're going to fix the economy. By the way, we're going to do all that because we can walk and chew gum. That person's going to get votes, male or female, and I don't care from what state or district they're coming from.
That person's going to get my vote because, like, my view of this is Democrats have to do two things in order to reset the party brand and win in 2028. We have to run on the most ambitious set of economically populist policies that we could put together that are going to help the American people at a time when they're getting absolutely throttled in this economy because of the tariffs, because of AI, because of robotics, because of, frankly, 20 years of inaction of trying to keep the American dream alive and giving people an opportunity to buy a house, take a vacation, and take care of their kids. We got to do that. And if we don't, we're screwed. We're just going to get a worse version of Donald Trump 4 years after we win in 28. And then the second thing we have to do is we have to be the most aggressive we've ever been on corruption. We have to solve the tremendous amount of drift in this country. And I'm thinking about it. It's Teddy Roosevelt and trust busting, right? We got to break up some of these monopolies. We got to ban these prediction markets. There's so much to solve in this country. We got to get rid of insider trading in Congress. We got to go prosecute these people that are stealing. Frankly, I'd like to seize Donald Trump's assets. That's how far I'm going. The guy's made billions of dollars making deals overseas in the Middle East. I would seize all of it and force him to like run to Argentina at the end of this because the theft and the thievery is unbelievable. And one more thing to add, because this is where Democrats get really uncomfortable. The Wall Street Journal op-ed section is going to be very unhappy when we do these things. Oh, it's partisan lawfare. Oh, it's going blah, blah, blah. No, it's not.
Nope.
You hold people accountable for their crimes. That's what you should do. And frankly, if Donald Trump had been held accountable for any of his crimes in his miserable 70-some-odd year on this planet, he would have never made it to the White House in the first place. For God's sake, he was trying to prevent black people from buying or renting apartments in New York City 40, 50 years ago. If he'd been prosecuted for that, we wouldn't be here right now.
I take a deep breath on it because I said as well that
I'm fired up this morning, buddy.
And listen, I am too. Listen, we are. It reminds me of a rugby match where we're both running down the field at full speed, tossing the ball back and forth to each other. Because that to me right now, the point you made about being fired up, we have to stay and remain fired up. We cannot win anything right now and roll in there and then back away. If it seems reckless, too damn bad. The people who are calling it reckless are the ones that are going to be impacted by the work that we're going to do to get things done. So I don't really care about being nice to them. I'm going to be respectful in the sense that that's about me and that would be about you, but not to the point where we stay stuck on stupid. That's just not, it cannot happen this time. And I think that it's evident by some of the people that have won in many of these special elections. They have come in, and even in districts where there's sort of a moderate climate or moderate voting bloc, they have still come in and won because they've taken the position that we know there are problems and we're going to fix them this time, and we're going to be there for a while to keep fixing them. I said to Lavora Barnes a moment ago, I don't know if you heard this or not, we have to win and keep winning, not win and then yo-yo back out of winning again. That's just, we can't do that this time. And that may require, Mike, knocking over some tables, as I say so often, to make sure that it happens. So, Lenny, any final thoughts as we wrap up today, Mike Nellis?
I mean, I would just say that, you should be angry. And there's a lot of conversation on the internet about outrage politics and the term outrage porn. And I think all that is legit, that people are just trying to make you mad all the time. And the local news is trying to make you scared all the time with the way they cover crime and stuff like that. But there are legitimate things happening in this country that should make you mad at every level of society. And you shouldn't let that anger consume you. You shouldn't let it define you. You shouldn't let it corrupt you. But you should absolutely hold on to that, because when it's time to hold our Democratic politicians accountable, when they win the House and the Senate and the White House again, we're going to need a lot of that anger to unload back at them and make sure that they understand that we are serious about holding these people accountable. Because we can't do this again. This cannot be the 2008 financial crisis where tens of millions of Americans lose their homes, have their lives destroyed, and nobody goes to jail for it. It can't be the Epstein files again, because basically nobody's gone to prison for the Epstein files except for Ghislaine Maxwell, who runs a minimum security prison. Cannot do it again. And the only way to do that is to be smart and tough and, pretty angry. I can't use the words I want, Richard. I don't want to get you in trouble this morning.
No, man, I got you. I understand. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad your health is on the mend and you're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Mike Nellis, Endless Urgency. Check him out. You know where to find him. He's on all the socials, and he's bringing the heat every single day. It's good to talk with you, brother. I'm glad you're well, and we will talk to you again soon, okay?
Thank you. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye. Guys, as we wrap up today, one of the things that I want to say that kind of takes the baton from what Mike just said a little bit, and it's something that was on my mind, and it popped into my brain, and I thought we'll talk about it real quickly as we wrap up. There's a lot that we got to do. There's no stone that we should be leaving unturned in this moment across the board, local, state, federal, all the above on all fronts. But the thing that I think we all have to try to aspire to be, or to try to be, and you may need help from those around you, kind of like Betsy said earlier, and to some extent about connecting with people, is that we, as best we can, should aspire to be the change that we require. So that's putting it on all of us in a good way, in a positive way, that we want to be the change. We are the change agents. We want to be the change that we're asking for. We want to represent the change that we're asking for. We want to be the people that are pushing for the change. And you will hear me say this again in the weeks and months to come. I want to give a shout out to our folks up in Minneapolis. It's our first day with AM 950. Shout out to our folks down in North Carolina with WARR. And, of course, our team right here at home in Chicago on WCPT and Heartland Signal. Thanks to our team here. As every day I say to everybody, stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
What is a number story?
My number story started with fear and a lack of support, and it has led me to be there for others.
A number story begins in our childhood with ACEs, adverse childhood experiences.
My number story begins with the separation from my father and the emotional abandonment from my mother, and leads to me being a role model to not only myself, but those around me by becoming the person that wasn't there for me.
ACEs are so common, 2/3 of us have one.
My number story begins with drug abuse and homelessness, and leads to realizing that I can live life by my own standards.
A study found the more ACEs, the more likely we may experience a host of serious health effects, physical and mental. But that doesn't need to be the case. Your ACE number is simply an entry point to your own story. Where it leads is up to you.
My number story begins with years of emotional abuse and leads to peace, clarity, and security in my self-worth.
Take control of where your number story leads at numberstory.org.
I've tried everything to stand out at work. Donuts, a company coffee blend, even dressed as the company mascot for Halloween.
There's an easier way, a ComEd facility assessment. Their engineer gave my company free insights and actions that saved us $732,000 on energy. Easy, right?
Learn how ComEd can help you save at ComEd.com/facility assessment. ComEd, powering lives. Savings will vary based on customers' usage and rate.
As
As farmers and ranchers, stewardship of the land comes naturally. Your work keeps our water clean, improves the soil, and enhances wildlife habitat. It also provides countless benefits, not just for you and your family, but for millions of Americans who depend on this region every day without even realizing it. Thank you for being stewards of America's prairie for all of us. Take a moment to find out how conservation pays. Visit conservationpays.org.
File now with TurboTax and Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Israel says it's killed the Revolutionary Guard intelligence chief while airstrikes pummeled Tehran, killing dozens of people. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma has more.
Israel and the US have carried out a wave of attacks on Iran, killing over 20 people, and Iran responded with missile fire on Israel and its Gulf Arab neighbors. President Donald Trump's deadline for Tehran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz looms as mediators circulated a new ceasefire proposal. Explosions rang out in Tehran and low-flying jets could be heard for hours as the capital was pounded. Thick black smoke rose near the city's Azadi Square after one airstrike hit the grounds of the Sharif University of Technology. Among those killed in Iran was Major General Majid Kademi, the Revolutionary Guard intelligence chief, Iranian state media reports. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Meanwhile, Israel's military warned the public this morning of another missile barrage coming from Iran, the fifth such alert of the day. Israel's defense minister says his country attacked the South Pars petrochemical plant in Asuleya, describing it as Iran's largest petrochemical facility and saying it's responsible for about 50% of the country's petrochemical production. In a social media post yesterday, President Trump said a U.S. service member who went missing when Iran shut down a fighter jet has been rescued. A second crew member was rescued earlier. Trump wrote that the aviator is injured but will be just fine, adding that he took refuge in the treacherous mountains of Iran. Trump added that the rescue involved dozens of aircraft and that the U.S. had been monitoring his location 24 hours a day. Savannah Guthrie was back at NBC's Today Show anchor desk this morning for the first time in more than 2 months since her mother's disappearance. More information at apnews.com. This is AP News. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on Easter celebrations in Iran.
Armenian Christians celebrated Easter at St. Sarkis Cathedral in Tehran, 5 weeks into the war with the U.S. and Israel. The Archbishop of the Armenian Diocese of Iran says his first appeal is for those who started the war to look up to the sky where love and mutual respect was given to us, whether through the birth of Jesus or his rising from the dead. English language teacher Juanita Aracal says for the children who exchanged painted eggs, it's important to maintain a sense of normalcy.
We try to make it as normal as possible for the sake of our children, because whether we like it or not, we have young children who do not understand what's going on.
Armenian Christians represent most of Iran's 300,000 Christians. I'm Donna Warder.
More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. And for tonight, a slight chance for some snow here late. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 28. By Tuesday, sunshine, high 41 degrees. Wednesday, mostly cloudy and breezy. We'll see a high around 64. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 43.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moreelawoffice.com, spelled Moree. I look forward to speaking with you.
Today, 1 in 5 working-age Americans has a mental health condition.
People in all types of jobs and at all levels.
And the key to helping us succeed is a supportive and inclusive workplace.
All of us have a role to play in making that happen.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can listen and be a source of support to my colleagues.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
I can offer all employees the supports they need to deliver on the job. For the team
and for the business.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others
that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
Mental health-friendly workplaces are more important than ever.
And all of us have a role to play in promoting them.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.